Hello, this is Brandon Johnson. This is my Module 8 case study for EDL 853, Get This Child Out of My Room. A brief overview of the case study and some of the key people that are involved. Carl Hughes is a student who is labeled as having a behavior disorder. It is a self-inflicting behavior disorder, but recently, within the past few weeks, his behavior has become increasingly threatening towards the teacher within his classroom. Mr. and Mrs. Hughes are Carl's parents who just previously have been divorced. Miss Hughes works 50 plus hours a week to support her children and is not home as often as she would like or need to be. And Mr. Hughes, the father, is not very involved with raising the children at all. Another key person is Nancy Taylor. This is Carl's classroom teacher. She has expressed that she would like to have Carl removed from her classroom because of his explosive behavior towards her. Susan Green is the Schuyler K through 12 comprehensive school special education teacher. This is her first year within the position, and she is replacing a longtime teacher within the school. Schuyler K-12 is part of the Fulton School District. Fulton is one of 16 districts covering a rural area of 800 miles. So needless to say, it is a very large district that's spread out over a big area. The district splits one superintendent, and he spends 1 day per week in each township going around from school to school. They also share resources such as psychologists, nurses, and social workers among the district. Category 1, what do I know? First thing I know is that Carl is a problem student who has been diagnosed with a behavior disorder. It included being self-abusive to himself, but has recently shifted to being physically threatening to his classroom teacher, Ms. Taylor. Carl already has a behavior plan in place that was established by the previous special education teacher. This plan does not seem to be working for Carl. Ms. Taylor, his classroom teacher, wants Carl removed from the room because of his explosive behavior towards her. She said for no apparent reason, he will just, get angry and blow up and disrupt the classroom learning environment. I know that an IEP meeting must take place in order to change anything within Carl's current behavior plan. I know that the parents are divorced. I know that the divorce was a kind of a messy situation where police intervention had to happen. I know that the mother, Miss Hughes, works 50 hours a week, so she's not home as often to take care of the children. I know that the father, Mr. Hughes, is not involved very much with raising Carl. I know that a new plan implemented for Carl to leave the room and calm down when needed is put into place. I know that the adults in his life don't seem to want to help him as much as needs to be. And not sure if this is the reason why he is experiencing some of these explosive behaviors. Category 1 continued, what do I need to know? I need to know if Carl does pose a real threat to other students within the classroom or any staff members. I need to know, are there any medical or therapy services taking place for Carl outside of school? I need to know, should the student be reevaluated for medical issues? The case study explains the shift in his behavior, and I need to know if maybe he needs to possibly see a doctor about possibly getting reevaluated for that. I need to know and find out why these outbursts are happening, any possible triggers that may be experiencing, causing them, and if there's any certain time of day that Carl becomes more irritated or agitated. I need to know who watches Carl most of the time. Are they seeing the same behaviors from him outside of school? I would also like to know the social worker and psychiatrist schedules for seeing students within the district. Is it something like the superintendent where they can only make it around once in a while because of the vast area that they have to cover within the school district? And I need to know, are there other school placement options available for Carl within the district if he had to be removed from the school? The problem. I need to figure out why Carl is being so violent. I need to talk with his parents about placement for their son that will give him the best possible education in a least restrictive environment. Category 2, plan of action. So first thing we need to do is reevaluate Carl's behavior intervention plan. We need to meet with staff members who work with Carl, discuss some of his behavior and how it is affected by the current plan. And we also need to get input from those stakeholders to see if there's any adjustments that we need to make to the plan. We need to document some of his behavior and possibly find, possible triggers that could be setting Carl off. Like I previously mentioned, are there certain things that are upsetting him? Is it a certain time of day? And could we possibly hone in on when this is happening? We need to possibly set Carl up for some therapy or counseling for him and his family. Is a social worker available for Carl to meet with during school hours, or a psychologist that he can meet with during school hours to possibly work through some of these emotional issues that he's having? I need to set up an IEP meeting to discuss the new plan with the family. When a new behavior plan is prepared, we must discuss these issues with the family so that all stakeholders are on the same page. Category 3, resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. The first step that I would like to see happen with Carl would be full inclusion within Ms. Taylor's classroom, but with possible para support. Within the new intervention plan for Carl, we would place him in the classroom with a para to provide him help and support whenever he needs, and also possibly mentor him to make the right decisions. The second step would be part-time inclusion. Carl would receive instruction within the class, but work in a separate room for part of the day. Based on the documented behavior, we could maybe possibly find a time where Carl gets most agitated and possibly remove him from the room during those times so he is not around students and disrupting the learning environment for everybody else. And then the third thing that we could do is remove Carl from the school. If options 1 and 2 do not seem to work for him, the last resort would be to remove the student from the school and place him within a new school setting that would be both beneficial for him and his teacher and classmates. Category 4, what was I thinking, feeling, and valuing as I responded to the problem within the case study? Thinking. The first thing I was thinking was the problem must be resolved for Carl, the teacher, and the students within the classroom to establish a positive learning environment for all. The next thing I was thinking was possible ways to help the family outside of school. Is there, somebody that they can meet with outside of school to possibly help counsel them and to get Carl and the family moving in the right direction? The next thing I was thinking was to try to find the reason why the outbursts are happening so frequently and find a way to solve them, documenting the behavior and possibly honing in on why these behavior changes are happening and why Carl is becoming so aggressive towards his teacher. What was I feeling? The first thing I was feeling was that I want to help both Carl and his classroom teacher, Miss Taylor, both experience happiness and a positive learning environment established within the classroom to where they both feel comfortable coming to school each day. I felt pressure to resolve the issue for Miss Green, being that she is a first-year teacher within the school district, filling the shoes of a veteran teacher. I felt pressure to resolve the issue and make sure that Miss Taylor knows that her voice is being heard and that she's not being overlooked. And then the last thing I felt was anger towards the father for lack of concern or caring for his son. Within the IEP meeting, he stated, just give me the papers, I'll sign them. I just want to get out of here. So I felt anger towards him and not wanting to help his son and be a positive role model for him. What do I value? The first thing I value within this case study is the IEP process. To find a way to solve the issue for both the student, the teacher, and the classroom. I value collaboration. I don't think that one person in this case study has the answer as to what would be best for Carl. So I think collaboration is important to get all stakeholders involved, not only Carl, but his parents, his classroom teacher. Everybody needs to be bought in to helping solve this issue for Carl. And I value the creation of a positive, safe learning environment. Everyone that comes to school should feel safe, and not one person should disrupt that safety. So that is another thing that I value within the case. Unsolved issues. Will the establishment of the new intervention strategies work for Carl? Is pulling him out of the classroom and taking him to a quiet place going to resolve the issue and make the outbursts less frequent? Will all parties buy into the laid out plan? Are his parents going to support it? Will Carl accept it? And will Miss Taylor, the teacher, buy in? Because I know that she's expressed that she just wants him totally removed from her classroom. And if the student was removed from school, where would they receive their FAPE? Does the district have a alternative school where he could be placed to receive his education experience? Category 5, Component 1. How would I promote academic success of every student by enhancing the instructional capacity? By establishing these new interventions, we would create a positive learning environment for all students. Possibly eliminating the outburst by Carl and making sure that Ms. Taylor feels like she can teach her students and that the students feel like they are in a safe, secure environment. We would try to establish a least restricted environment for Carl by leaving him in the classroom or by removing him and taking him to a quiet room. By doing so, he can find individual success, being able to stay within the school building, but just being pulled out whenever he needs to be. And then by showing support to the teacher, we are promoting academic success so she feels comfortable in handling the behavior of the student and feels like her voice is being heard from the school and does not feel alone in resolving the issue. Component 2, promoting personal well-being. I believe that counseling for the student will possibly resolve these behavior issues. Maybe possibly someone that Carl could talk to express feelings towards would help the issue. Strategies of non-behavior plan to establish a safe learning environment for all parties, making sure that all the students feel safe. Removal of the student if the issue does not seem to get better in order to support the teacher and the student learning. And component 3, enhancing instructional capacity. I believe the intervention strategies that we have discussed previously will help do this. A reevaluate of the IEP process along with behavior intervention strategies to help the student remain in the LRE. I believe that collaboration among staff and parents to try to help resolve the issue for Carl is important, and make sure that Ms. Taylor knows that she is being supported and that her voice is being heard. Again, thank you for watching my case study on Module 8, Get This Child Out of My Room. This is Brandon Johnson. Thank you. Bye.